Live on a Friday morning, it is a bonus edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Guardians show. The trade deadline is behind us. We are into August. How did the Guardians do? Did they come close to trading Steven Kwan? Will Zach Meisel be able to survive moving and dealing with the trade deadline in 1 week? Is it possible? And just having a child recently. Well, he didn't. His wife did. She's doing all the hard work there. The man just gets a little credit, probably more than they deserve in general. But Zach's a good guy, so he probably helps more than the average guy. I'm rambling at this point, so let's get to it. It's the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. All right, Zach, let's get right to it. Yesterday was the trade deadline, 6 p.m. What did the Guardians do? They traded Shane Bieber to the Blue Jays for a good pitching prospect, top 100 prospect, the fifth best prospect on the Blue Jay system, according to MLB.com, their second best pitching prospect. They got somebody to take the Tigers to take Paul Sewald's contract. Okay, we don't care about the Guardians saving money. And they did not trade Steven Kwan. They did not, at least of 9:08 this morning, move on from Carlos Santana. There's really nothing else we expected to happen. The good, the bad, the ugly. What do you make of what the Guardians did and didn't do at the trade deadline?
I think pretty expected. They had been getting a lot of calls on Shane Bieber over the last week or two, and part of that is the product of just the market. You didn't see good starting pitchers moved for the most part, right? Dylan Cease stayed put, Joe Ryan stayed put, and there just weren't. You didn't have remember when Justin Verlander went to the Astros, when Zach Greinke went to the Astros, when you didn't have that quality of pitcher. We saw Max Scherzer go to the Dodgers that one year. Teams were trying to get creative and needing starting pitching. And I think you saw the Padres load up their bullpen. That's the route they took. I think the Tigers,
Mets and Yankees did the same with the bullpens.
Yeah, the Tigers settled for Charlie Morton and Chris Paddock, but then otherwise they just try to fill their bullpen too. So Bieber was going to have some value, and the Guardians' standpoint there was, look, this guy's not exercising his option for next year.
Nope.
Because it's worth $16 million, but it has a $4 million buyout. So it's really $12 million. He's going to get the $4 million at least no matter what. So why would he opt in, commit himself to $12 million for next year when he made almost that much this year anyway? So he'll opt out. The Guardians then could have submitted a qualifying offer to him, which he probably would have rejected. And then the Guardians would have gotten a draft pick. So the Guardians' stance is, well, you got to cough up a prospect that's better than the draft pick that we could get if we just hang on to Bieber.
Right.
Plus the value that you get from 7 or 8 starts that Bieber will make down the stretch.
Sure.
So that's how you end up with what looks like a pretty good prospect. Talking to some people from other organizations, like I had 2 or 3 people text me yesterday morning to say, yeah, so that pitcher just fits what the Guardians do perfectly. And if you read scouting reports from when he was drafted versus when Bieber was drafted, they're like the same. It's crazy. So I'm not saying he's going to become, a unanimous Cy Young winner, but I think they did pretty well there. And at no point did I ever, especially the last couple of weeks, I wasn't daydreaming about Bieber pitching for the Guardians in August. It seemed like that was going to be something they certainly do. So to move him, honestly, you joke about Sewald. Sewald and I, you could go read it on The Athletic. I don't want to waste 5 minutes on this right now, but we had some great chats over the last couple of weeks about 2 years ago. The Mariners traded him when they were 1 game out, and they had played really well that month. So he went from, at the start of July 2023, he's telling his wife, I'm definitely getting traded. We got a young kid at home. We got to get ready, pack up the house. We're going somewhere. Then the Mariners go 17-9. Scott Service holds a team meeting at the end of the month saying, great job. We're going to be buyers now.
Yeah.
And then Sewald gets traded. And he's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So after the end of one of these conversations one day, I just said to him, all right, hang in there. 10 more days to go. And he's like, oh, I don't have to worry about it this year because I'm injured. I'm out for a while. They're not going to trade me. And there he goes again. Once again, traded when he didn't think so. So,
oh man,
that one may be a little surprising. The Bieber one, Not surprising. Were you
No,
surprised at all?
No, I expected Bieber to get traded. As you said, the only way he was going to pick up that option is if he got hurt again, and then you wouldn't want him.
Right.
So it made sense. There was no way he was just going to settle for what, as you said, is essentially a 1-year, $12 million deal. When Matthew Boyd did pitch great at the end of last year, but Matthew Boyd doesn't have anywhere close to the track record than Shane Bieber has, and he got 2 years, $29 million. So you figure that's the floor as long as Bieber pitches well, and he's always pitched well when he's been healthy. I went on with the Toronto show yesterday, and I was like, I think this is a great trade for both teams. I think the Guardians got as good a prospect as you're going to get for a rental coming off Tommy John surgery. And the Blue Jays, while obviously there's risk because he's coming off Tommy John surgery, if he's healthy, he might be their best pitcher in the playoffs.
How did they take it up there?
They liked it. it. Yeah.
They don't like anything. I remember going on there.
Yeah.
Remember when they traded Josh Donaldson?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they got Julian Merriweather in return. And
Right.
that was when there was an August 31st deadline.
Yeah.
So Donaldson was going to be a free agent. The Blue Jays were going nowhere.
Yeah.
And I remember like wanting to hang up mid-segment because they were yelling at me because I tried to justify the trade for Toronto. And I was like, hey, I don't know if Julian Merriweather will turn in anything. And he actually did. He was a hard-throwing reliever there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But like there's no point in keeping Donaldson. He's walking in 1 month.
Right.
And they just went off on me.
Wow.
So,
you think people in Canada are supposed to be very nice?
No, I don't know. That might be a myth.
It was different. I'm sure it was different hosts that I dealt with yesterday. I was on, the show that I do, my podcast, our Toronto equivalent. And they were especially optimistic after I told them I was lauding Bieber and how good I think he'll be if he's healthy. So, and Bieber will get some juice for being, they're going to be a playoff team, and the American League's wide open. I mean, if Bieber,
half of his teammates are former Guardians.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. There's a lot of, and it's a veteran group, especially in the rotation. He's got Scherzer there. He's got Barrios there. He's got Gossman and Bassett. I mean, that's as veteran a group of the rotation. I think if their rotation's healthy in the playoffs, especially Bieber, I think they could go to the World Series. I really do. Because I don't think there's any standout team in the American League. I think the Mariners could go to the World Series. The Tigers, even though they're not playing great right now, the Astros, certainly, even the Yankees, although I hope not. I did think the Yankees and the Mets both had really good. They really did a nice job, both those teams, I thought, and the Padres building the bullpen. I love what the Mariners did getting Naylor and Suarez, but
I think part of the frustration for Guardians fans should be the fact that the Blue Jays have the best record in the American League and they're on pace for 94 wins. That's not. There is no like Goliath this year, and not being able to take advantage of that, I think is. Got to be frustrating.
It's played out just like we thought that the American League would be wide open, and it is. And we thought the Guardians would be in the mix, and they're not. I know they're only 2.5 games out of the wild card, so there's probably some level of frustration there. But the Guardians, they understood that they were probably not making the playoffs this year, and that's why they made this deal ultimately. But it's weird, because the division right now, I mean, think about it. The White Sox obviously are terrible. The Twins did an all-time sell-off yesterday.
I'm excited to see this series this weekend, just to see if the Twins have 26 players.
It's funny that you say that because, as you know, I keep my rosters yesterday, and as all these trades are happening, I'm when I'm not doing a show. So I did 5 shows yesterday, but when I'm not doing a show, I'm constantly updating the rosters. So by last night, before, because the Twins haven't added because they weren't playing yesterday, so I think last night or this morning, I had 17 players on their roster.
I mean, they're going to have, how like teams, when they make a roster move, they have like that press release they tweet out, right? I mean, how are they going to be able to fit all their roster moves on one tweet photo today? I mean,
I don't know.
It's insane.
Because they might have to move, because they're probably going to have to add guys to the 40-man roster, which means they'll be DFAing guys possibly. They'll be, you might have to, transfer guys to the 60-day IL to create a roster spot there. So
you also have to make sure you have enough players in AAA.
That's true.
I mean, you can't just call up 9 guys from AAA because your AAA team is to play. And that's probably more important to them now than the major league team.
Yeah, it is. I'm surprised. I guess they didn't get a good enough offer with all the selling they did. I am a little surprised they didn't trade Joe Ryan. I was really hoping the Cubs would get Joe Ryan. I was disappointed about the Cubs trade deadline that they didn't get a frontline starter. And Ryan, I thought was the guy. I would have been fine with Mackenzie Gore too, but Ryan was the guy I really wanted. And in the end, they traded their entire bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
All their hitters that are close to free agency or at free agency this year. I was surprised. Like Ryan's was the big trade chip, and ultimately they didn't deal him. But so the division is like the Royals are kind of in the middle. I think they're in a little better shape than the Guardians right now. The Tigers are good, but they're not as good as I think we knew they wouldn't be the team that was in the beginning of the year. They're still good. I don't think we need to overcorrect too much. They're the best team in this division.
I also didn't like what their deadline was.
They had a bad deadline too.
Yeah. They added like 6 pitchers, but none of them are.
I don't like what they did at all. They didn't improve they didn't do anything in the lineup.
No.
Right. And we knew their lineup had overachieved early in the season. It's come back down to earth for most of those guys. And they didn't add at all.
That's not the deadline of a team that has Tarek Skubal for a year and a half.
I know. It was very strange. Very strange what they did or didn't do. Speaking of not doing things, we got to talk about Steven Kwan. We'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to talk to you folks about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. It's a lot. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, monarchmoney.com. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. All right, let's talk about Steven Kwan. Fans were extremely nervous. I did a live podcast right at 6, and there was a lot of, fans. We've talked about this, Zach. The diehard fans, the people that listen to watch shows like this, they were more frustrated with this team than I've seen since I got here. Maybe that first year I got here in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time. The casual fans get mad at the team all the time, but the diehards are usually more, thoughtful and I feel like I'm one of those. And everybody's lost their patience with the Guardians. And even though if they got a great offer for Steven Kwan, I with my head would have understood why they did it. Too often we forget that for fans, this is not about just your head. It's mostly about your heart. And the fans really like Steven Kwan. And I know there's a decent chance he's going to get traded at the end of this year or maybe the next trade deadline. But I think the Guardians need to do what they can to try to sign him long-term. Steven Kwan is a very smart guy. Mm-hmm. He understands, I think, that he's not getting some crazy, huge contract because as talented as he is, and he's good to great in every aspect of the game, but the one aspect of the game that he's not good or great in is power. And that's what gets you paid the most as a hitter, and that's the reality. Fair or not, that's the way it is. So I think there's a contract number that the Guardians can afford, should offer Steven Kwan. Now, do I think it's going to happen? I don't. But I'll hope against hope. But the fact that they didn't trade him leaves open that possibility, I guess. I hope. And so I think a lot of fans feel that way, and they're at least hopeful that one of the very few players that are good on this team might stick around longer than they think.
Where do you want me to start?
there's a lot to chew on. Go ahead, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I
You think there's any chance that they're going to sign him long term? Any chance?
It's impossible to know.
Okay.
And for a few reasons. One, I don't know if I agree on the power thing. I mean, there's a guy named Chris Carter.
Yeah.
Who was a slugger for Houston and Milwaukee. And he hit 41 home runs for the Brewers in like 2017. And then he got non-tendered. And ever since, he's been playing in Mexico. Like, you don't have to be fully well-rounded, but you have to have multiple skills. And if power's the one he doesn't have, well, I mean, he's probably going to hit 15 home runs this season. And I think he had 14 last year. And like, it's not 30, but it's, if you pair that, now look, he needs to prove that he can be that 300 hitter. But the guy is probably going to win his 4th straight Gold Glove in as many years. He's got more walks than strikeouts. He could steal 20 bases and hit 15 homers and have 30 doubles. Like, that's a valuable player. Or at least this is what his sales pitch would be to a team. Complicating factors include, one, he is too smart. I think he knows what his value is. We know that based on his comments in his journal.
Yeah.
About the first time that they had contract negotiations, and they're offering him basically what they offered Miles Straw, and that's typical of what they do to a guy who has 1 year of major league service. Like that's kind of what Tanner Bybee got, right? He got a little more than the first year. They negotiated with Tanner Bybee. It was more like 5 for 25. And then Bybee has another good season and that gets bumped up to 5 for 48, right? But Kwan, look, after his first year, I don't think he's not signing for that.
No.
Right. And so another complicating factor is he's making $4 million this year. That'll probably double next year in arbitration and, go up to $12 million his last year of arbitration. And then he's a free agent.
Yeah.
And he's a union rep. Like, I think there's a little bit of a sense of needing to take a fair deal and not sign for below market. So all of these things complicate it. That shouldn't be an excuse. And more than anything, how many times do we have to say this on this show? I don't want to turn into a rant against payroll because we can do that whenever we want. You have to build around something, right? First of all. Second of all, as they've proven, the worst contracts you can hand out are still movable because other teams are not pinching pennies the way you are. You were able to get out from Miles Straw. You were able to get out from Andres Jimenez. I have a feeling that if you give Kwan a market value deal and you got scared in a few years, and again, this will also be David Blitzer's problem, not Paul Dolan's problem.
Yep.
You could probably find some team that's not going to be scared off by paying Steven Kwan $20 million in a few years.
Yeah.
So to me, the risk aversion has gone way too far to the wrong end. And
well, Zach, let me run this by you, because yesterday I was trying to look for a contract that I thought both sides could agree to. Now, you just said 20 million. I was a little below that. So I said 7 years, 125 million. That's about 18 million. It's like just under 18 million a year. Is that something? Is that maybe? And I said maybe you have to go up as high as 140, which would be 20 million a year. So is there a spot on a 7-year deal between 120 and 140 million where both sides you think could agree to something?
It's impossible to know. I mean, and I do wonder if part of the Guardians' hesitation would be they don't know what their future holds. There's a lockout looming. And that lockout could wipe out Kwan's last season before free agency. Who knows? Yeah. Which honestly would have been more reason to trade him. Because if you get to a point a year from now and it's July 2026 and he's got a year and a half of control, but you're sitting there if you're another team and you're like, we don't even know if there's going to be a season next year. Why would we give up top prospects for him?
Right.
Like that's something you have to weigh. So I don't know to put it. Like, the Guardians don't know what their TV situation will be like in the future, what it'll look like in a post-lockout world, what Blitzer would want to do. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions here, but honestly, like, still, and I don't want it painted as I think like Steven Kwan is as good as Jose Ramirez, right? And the contract you just described is basically what Ramirez signed, 7 for 141, and claiming 2 years of control.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous.
You say it now,
Mhm.
and I'm like, yeah, it was that low. That's crazy.
But I just don't think that contract, if you look at it as how many teams would pay their second best player 7 over 141, and that would cover the prime and then maybe like a year or two post prime.
Yeah.
Every team would do that.
Yeah.
Except like the Guardians and the Pirates.
Yeah, 25 teams.
Maybe more. I mean,
yeah.
The Guardians and the Pirates, and that's it. I mean, like the A's just gave Luis Severino like 3 for 75 or something.
Yeah.
Like that's
maybe the Rays wouldn't do it.
I mean, they gave Wander Franco 11 years. They offered Freddie Freeman a free agent contract. Like
that's true.
I don't know. There are other teams that get out of their comfort zone once in a while. This team does not.
It's true. That's true. Man, they that Ramirez contract is the best team value.
Yeah, but
of a post arbitration player ever.
And they take it for granted.
Yeah,
and he's really the one that pushed for it. That's the other thing. They were ready to trade him.
It's unreal. It's unreal, and but it's not. So we should be. So I think we're probably hoping against hope on Kwan. If you had to bet, is Kwan with the Guardians on opening day next year? What would you bet? Yes
Here's
or
the
no?
thing.
Yeah.
So there are two divergent paths here, and the one is they trade him yesterday, and they're trading him for prospects. You're not trading him for established major leaguers.
Right.
We can talk about the packages they could have gotten if you want, or the teams they maybe came close to dealing with. But, you were like, if you traded him to the Padres, you were getting Leo DeVry, the top shortstop prospect, who's 18 years old. If you traded him to the Phillies were trying to talk them into Aiden Miller, who's in Double-A, middle infielder, of course.
Right.
I think the Guardians wanted Andrew
in the mix there.
Yeah, not as much as I thought.
Okay.
I don't know why. That was the one team that I thought if all they had to do was raise their hand and say, all right, what do you want for Kwan? They had the quality and the quantity of prospects. But you were, the Astros called, and then I asked someone with the Astros, I was like, do you guys even have prospects? They said, absolutely not. So like,
anybody else?
They're like the Blue Jays. I think the Reds called, but they got scared off by the price right away. So it was the Padres. It was the Phillies. Am I missing one? Yeah, the Padres obviously went for Mason Miller instead.
Yeah.
And that package probably would have been similar to what the Guardians would have gotten.
Were they still trying to get him after they traded DeVries? Or would they just knew it was not going to happen?
Yeah, I don't think there was a way for them to do that. Right. Maybe if they would have traded Dylan Cease somewhere and gotten prospects, but I don't think the prospects would have been good enough for 2 months of Dylan Cease. So no, and then the Phillies, I don't think they could align on which players.
Yeah, they would have.
Which is why
the Guardians would have wanted Painter, but they were not going to trade Painter.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And so then down the stretch yesterday, I was kind of waiting. Like the Dodgers seemed like they were lurking all day. They didn't really do anything substantial. And that was that. So if you trade him, what's the first question you're going to ask?
What do you mean? If you trade him this offseason?
If they traded Kwan yesterday.
Yeah.
There's a third baseman.
Right.
You're just going to rebuild for the last 3 years of his contract?
Yeah, then you might as well trade Jose.
And I don't think he wants to sit through, a couple 90 lost seasons here.
I don't blame him.
And so you would have had to have some uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
And so you keep Kwan. If you trade him a year from now, you're not getting as much, right? If you trade him this winter, probably not getting as much. Maybe you can get more teams involved. But what was the point of keeping him for 2 months?
Right. Yeah, you're not going to
So
get more. You might get because there's teams that maybe don't need an outfielder right now, but they might need an outfielder at the
or
end of the
teams
year.
that think, we're going to take steps this winter
Right.
to turn ourselves
Right.
into a contender.
Yeah.
But I don't, the Guardians set such a high price and they just don't budge. I don't know that you're going to be able to set that same price in a few months. So you can certainly listen and survey the market and see what you could get for him this winter, but if you're keeping, you have to actually add. If you're locking up Jose Ramirez and if you're trying to lock up Kwan or keep Kwan, you have to build around them. So they're gonna have to pick a path. They've basically punted on this season in terms of they didn't do anything over the offseason really
Right.
to make their lineup better. I'm fully expecting to see a lineup tonight that has Carlos Santana in it and Nolan Jones and Gabriel Arias and whoever else.
No Kafis. You think he's not coming up?
I mean, he played in Jacksonville last night against your jumbo shrimp, so I don't know.
It's just absurd.
Yeah, so I think, in a lot of ways, it feels like a waste of a year. I think Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase certainly didn't help that. But you're going to have to pick a lane. I like the Twins are an embarrassment, and it sucks for their fans. And I think how they've operated for a few years now, where they've been half in and half out. And I wonder if part of that's because their team they're trying to sell. But
yes,
but at least give them credit. They picked a lane.
They did,
and maybe they should have gone even harder. But at least there's no concealing what they're doing. They're playing for 2030, and I think the Guardians need to. You gotta pick a lane. If you actually believe in this team, then you're gonna have to do some additions this winter. You're gonna have to do some adding.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Again, there's 2 months for other guys to go one way or the other, but as of right now, you feel good about 3 spots in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And the third spot he's not even allowed to play every day.
Do we, I meant to ask you, why are they sitting him against lefties? I don't understand.
It's simply, I asked this the other day.
Yeah.
And I've asked in other forms and I tried to be more blunt.
Yeah.
And this is the whole, I think sometimes this gets lost in the, fans get mad and they say, ask the tough questions, or why don't you ask this and this? And we do, or I do, but you're not going to get we need truth serum on these guys.
Yeah.
Stephen Vogt's not going to sit up there and say, yeah, you're right. Carlos Santana stinks. We need to sit him, right?
Yeah.
He's a 39-year-old veteran and, he's a year younger than Vogt. So that's the issue. The issue is David Fry can't play a position and they want him in the lineup against lefties. And so the alternative is Santana, and they don't want to diss Santana publicly. But the issue is, I know, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
Manzardo needs to play. And even if it was, it's one thing if it was Skubal on the mound on Wednesday. It was Kyle freaking Freeland.
Yeah.
The guy, Manzardo hit 2 home runs the night before. Can you let him build some momentum?
One fan actually defended the Guardians of this, sent me a message and was like, he's only hitting 150 against lefties for the last 2 months. I don't care.
How do you want him to get better?
Yes.
Josh Naylor was miserable against lefties for 2 years.
Yes.
And they kept trotting him out there, and he finally figured it out.
Yes.
Are you ever going to let that happen with this guy?
And by the way, in the limited at bats, he has the 3rd best OPS against lefties on the team. So this is absolutely crazy. That reason is insane. Carlos I don't understand why he's still on the team. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. They're not trying to win. I know that players are trying to win. I get it, but that the winning is not the priority at this point, or they wouldn't have traded Bieber.
Yeah, I mean, they're not doing a great job of contending, and they're not doing a great job of developing. And you have to. That's what I mean by picking a lane, and they're not really doing either.
And what are they doing? Like. Let's say the rest of the 2 months, these guys are just what they've been. What are you doing with Arias next year? What are you doing with Rocchio next year? What are you doing with Bo Naylor next year? Nolan Jones. I mean, all these guys. And listen, I drank the Kool-Aid on Nolan Jones. I thought he was going to be really good. Now I feel like, that one good year in Colorado was an anomaly. none of these guys have shown much promise. And listen, I'm not saying there's no chance that any of those guys are going to be good, because in baseball, we see some guys that take a long time to develop. But there's not on any of them, there's very little to hang your hat on that make you think, like, I'm not comfortable going into the season with any of them as starters next year. And at least some, if not all of them, are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't had, that's what I mean. They haven't had the development. They haven't had, like, Manzardo has been, it's been impressive how he's, he had a rough stretch there for a month or two, but he's rebounded. I mean, his OPS is almost back to 800. So, like, there you go. There's one guy you can hang your hat on, right? But there are, this team doesn't have a catcher of the future at the moment, right? Like, are you guaranteeing Bo Naylor the starting catching job next season?
You shouldn't.
No. They don't have an answer at second base. I don't think they have an answer yet at shortstop. I don't think they have an answer in center field. I mean, Angel Martinez had a nice stretch there too, but, like, look, his OPS is 670. Like, let's not get carried away here.
Same with Schneemann. Had that little run where he was hot.
Exactly. So yeah, they have 3 answers in the lineup. One of them they don't let play every day. And there are not, like, that's why if you're looking at, like, what should the goals be over the last 2 months, like, okay, there are a few games out of a wild card spot. The teams they're chasing, like the Mariners and the Red Sox and the Rangers, those teams all added. So I'm also expecting those teams to get better. And maybe you can hang around and, like, pseudo contend and win 84 games and finish a few games out. Like, that's possible. But if you better be actually getting some answers on your future too. Like, you need Kefis to get his feet wet so that you're not wasting time with that next year. You need DeLauder and Brito to get healthy and at least let them get some exposure to big league pitching for a couple weeks. You need Parker Messick to come up and make his debut. Like, you have to get some answers. Like, you can't let this whole season be a waste without learning some things. And right now, most of what you're learning is either pointless or it's bad news for a lot of young players who haven't taken steps forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically been a wasted year for Bazzana. DeLauder was hurt 3 different times. It's frustrating, and fans are just so aggravated. They don't understand, and the Guardians, it's like they like sticking it in your eye. It's like we're smart, you're dumb, you don't know anything, so we don't have to explain anything. We've talked about the owner doesn't speak ever. The GM and the president, they only talk in cliches. They go to the same school that Andrew Berry goes to, where they learn how to sound smart. They're all smart. I'm not saying they're not. Obviously, they're very smart guys, but they all go to that same school of learning how to talk to the media, where they say nothing. They talk around everything. They say nothing. And where have we gotten? You got all these prospects, and none of them have done anything. And it's just so frustrating. I don't understand. I can't think of a good reason why they wouldn't give Kefis an opportunity here. There's just no reasonable explanation for it. What have you heard? What have they said? Like,
no, I mean, it's wanting him to be competent in the outfield, because it's the same answer on why Manzardo doesn't play every day.
Yeah.
And it's because Carlos Santana's here, and they're not just going to bench a veteran or whatever. So, if Kefis comes up, like, I don't think they're too comfortable with him. He's been playing more corner outfield again too. And eventually I would think he gets a look, but you've got 2 months. Like, I don't think he'd perform worse than Santana's got a 667 OPS. I'm pretty sure Kefis could do that. I'm pretty sure your grandma could do that.
You know what? Call him up and cut Santana. You play Manzardo at first every day. Against lefties, you put Kefis in the outfield. Against righties, you could DH him.
Well, that's the thing too, is Nolan Jones gets to play every day, lefty or righty. And it's
just crazy.
I mean, that is a way to get Kefis every day at bats. You could sit Nolan Jones once in a blue moon.
Oh my God. I don't even know what to say. It's like, give the fans something. And again, we've seen a lot of rookies struggle this year. Kefis could come up. He could bat a $150 with a 400 OPS and stink. Okay, well, you got the process going on him. Nobody's asking him to be the savior, but he's been, of your top prospects, he's been the best player in the minors this year. He did it at Double-A, he did it at Triple-A. We're in August. Give him a shot.
Yeah, I mean, is it fair to say that you need to be thinking about 2026 as much as you're thinking about 2025?
100%.
And giving Kafis 2 months of big league at bats is probably not hurting you in 2025 and definitely helping you for 2026.
100%.
I mean, we saw with Manzardo last season, came up for a month or so, struggled to get acclimated to DHing in the big leagues, came back up in September. And on September 1st last year, he hit 2 home runs and didn't look back. He was great down the stretch. So, when you get a little bit of exposure, that helps. And then, you get an off season or you get a couple months in the minors to think about it. And you come back up the second time and you're much better off for it. There's an opportunity to do that here, but, they'd have to admit some mistakes.
I'm still honestly stunned about the Santana, not wanting to insult Santana, which is just crazy to me. That's why they can't.
I mean, the guy plays 7 days a week. It's absurd. He's third on the team in plate appearances.
I don't get it. That's crazy. There's veterans that get benched all over the league. It happens. What is wrong with them?
You could still play him 4 times a week.
Right.
We're not asking for.
Well, I'm asking for him to be gone totally.
Sure.
But at minimum, you could just bench him against lefties.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no point, especially now. He's 39. Yeah. He is not going to be on the roster next season. You just, there were teams that needed first baseman too. The Mariners got Josh Naylor. The Padres got Ryan O'Hearn.
Yep.
There were other teams that needed a first baseman. Clearly, they didn't come calling.
Yeah. All right. Let's read some comments from the fans before we call it a day. Old Ben said, Zach, what have you heard as far as the length of contract Kwan is looking for? Is that length part what Cleveland can't match? Is a 3-year deal possible? He probably wouldn't sign a 3-year deal.
No, I mean, he's got 2 more years of team control.
Right.
He's got a September birthday, so he'll be 28 in about a month. So he'll hit free agency at the age of 30.
Yeah, he's not.
So my guess is he's gonna want something that takes him to. This is me guessing, but
yeah,
you don't want to re-enter free agency at like 32, 33. You'd want something that takes you to 35 or 36.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why you'd want a 7-year deal, something like that. He would sign that, I'm sure. PD Pete heard Kwan wants to play on the West Coast. How much do the guards have to pay him to convince him to stay? To me, this.
How many times do I have to clarify this? He lives in Chicago.
Yeah,
that's west of here. And look, maybe eventually he could see himself playing on the West Coast, but that's not up to him at the moment. And it's because he's from there. Like when you were a kid growing up, wherever you were growing up, you probably dreamed about playing for that team. But also, that's not going to prevent him from signing. He can live in California, sunny California, in the winter if he wants to. He lives in Chicago.
When I was a kid, if you would have told me I'd be spending most of my adult life in Cleveland, and I had never been to Cleveland, so I didn't know, I would have said, you're out of your mind. And now I can't imagine living anywhere else. It changes once you get to know a place, Where you're from is where you're from. You have an affinity for it, but things change over the years. It has nothing to do with that.
And also, the team has to want you.
Yes.
He can't just be like, no, sorry, I'm not signing an extension because I'm going to play for the Giants in 2 years. Well, you know that the Giants are going to want you in 2 years?
No. Yeah, right. Weather Fan 08, I don't think they should offer Kwan a 7-year contract. How good will he be in 3 years when he turns 30? He says he doesn't think his body will hold up well. I think Steven Kwan's the type of player that's body will hold up well.
I mean, he's had hamstring injuries in the past. Those haven't flared up this year. There are questions about his speed. You wouldn't know it by his stolen base total is.
Yeah.
He should wind up around probably, 18 to 20 this year. but his sprint speed has gone down. But I also wonder how much of that is intentional, maybe to save his legs and just picking his spots. I mean, it's a valid question. You can ask that question with just about anybody, though. And with him, like, that bat's going to age well, right? Like the eye at the plate, the contact ability. It's not like, he's not like speed and power where, they signed Miles Straw to that extension, and that one never made sense to me because you were going to pay him more money when he turned 30, 31, and
right.
His game was all about speed and defense. Those things are going to decline the older you get. I don't know. I guess my main point is, like, if they had a bunch of other good players that they had signed and it was like, I don't know if we have enough money for Steven Kwan, fine, but you're not paying anybody. So, and there are other teams that, again, like, you're not going to have to pay Kwan like $250 million. This is going to be half of that, right?
Right.
And there are other teams that if it gets too uncomfortable for David Blitzer in 4 years, they were able to find a taker for Straw and Jimenez. I think they'll be able to find a taker for Kwan.
Yeah. Have you been following the story, speaking of speed, of Josh Naylor's stolen base numbers?
They're pretty good, aren't they?
Josh Naylor with the Guardians in 486 games stole a total of 23 bases. He has 16 this year, including last night he stole his 5th base for the Mariners in 7 games.
Doesn't he have a really good percentage too? Like, he never gets caught.
He is 16 for 18 stealing bases this year.
That's weird. But Cleveland fans wanted to run him out of town because of his weight.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was worried about him not holding up. I did not want to trade him this year, obviously. I was worried about giving him a long-term contract because his body type I'm worried about. But I mean, kudos to him. He's got more steals than he does homers.
I've noticed other fan bases picking up on just, I don't want to say miserable, but how emotionless he's become. I mean, he used to be like the most energetic, fun-loving guy.
Yeah.
So and I don't know what happened, but a couple of years ago, it flipped on its head. And he was doing a press conference with the Mariners, and they were asking him yesterday about having Suarez in Seattle again, and they were teammates in Arizona this year. And he's describing this, and he used the words pure joy at one point, but his voice was like a robot, and just like that guy. I mean,
what happened? Do you have any idea what happened?
No, I've heard different things, but like not one thing that should make his joylessness permanent.
Interesting. Could it
like
be
he was really unhappy that the Guardians did not want to sign him to a long-term deal, but then why are you still acting like this in Arizona and Seattle?
Right. Arizona wanted you, and Seattle wanted you, and like I said with Toronto, I mean, Seattle's a legit World Series contender too. So I mean, when do you see a team add 2 big-time offensive players like that at the trade deadline? That they got the pitching, although their pitching hasn't been quite as good as we expected this year.
Yeah.
If their pitching can tighten up here down the stretch, with those 2 big bats added to the lineup and the super speed of Josh Naylor now, that could be interesting. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. If you missed any of the show, go back and watch it on YouTube. We'll be on regular time Monday next week. We'll be off the following week because I'm going on vacation for a week. And then we may switch up after that with football season coming. We may go to a different day instead of Monday. But we'll be on Monday next week. Until then, we'll talk to you next time on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.